Hello, everyone. The point of this short video is just to quickly go over the review FRQ that you all completed this past week. The review FRQ was over biopsych and sensation and perception. I want to remind you of just a couple of things. First of all, these are review FRQs, and they will not look like the official FRQ in two main ways. One is these are focused on specific units, and so the terms that you see are just being pulled from biopsych or S&P or something like that. And remember that on the official FRQ, there will likely be a scenario, and then the terms can come from any unit. And so it's not going to be hyper focused on one particular content area. And the second way, and this is important, that these will look very different than the official FRQ that you'll have on the AP exam, is for these review FRQs, I'm giving you some choice as to which terms you write about. That won't happen. So I have, for example, part one, we have this scenario about Taylor driving home from her dance practice. And then I've listed out for you 6 different terms, and I tell you to choose 3. You won't ever see that on official AP Psych exam. So don't have in your mind this idea of, oh, if I don't know a term, then I'll just choose to write about a different term. You may not know a term, but there won't ever be a situation where it says, choose X number of these terms to write about. If you see a term on the official AP exam, the expectation is you'll write on that term. So let's get to the nitty gritty. What you're about to see here are actual answers that you all created. And so I didn't type any of these answers myself. I simply copied and pasted these from some of your responses that you submitted this week. I've also taken this same document and I've uploaded it to Schoology. So I'm going to go pretty quick, but if you want to take some more time and look through it, that is available to you. The big thing with this first FRQ, Taylor's driving home from her dance practice one winter evening. She hits some ice, gets into a car accident. Doctors believe that Taylor has suffered from significant brain damage. Choose 3 of the terms and then describe how they'll impact Taylor in the coming years. Okay, it's all about application. On this year's FRQ, they assume you're going to just look up all the definitions, right? Normally on a psychology FRQ, half the battle is just trying to remember what the terms mean. You don't have to worry about that anymore. Hopefully you will remember the terms, but if you don't, you can have your notes and you can say, oh, I just need to look up what the cerebellum is. I kind of forgot. So the definitions are not the important thing. Our assumption is you know all of the definitions. Now the trick is, can you apply it to the situation? So all of your responses in this particular FRQ should be applied to Taylor's life in the future, knowing that she has this brain damage, and use some clues. And so I liked to choose some examples that talked about Taylor used to dance. We know she's on her way back from dance practice. So if we look, for example, at cerebellum, cerebellum is the back part of the brain, is responsible for the function of balance, large movements, and implicit memory, meaning the part of the brain that helps you do all of your large movements and help you with the things that you do naturally with no thought. In Taylor's scenario, with her cerebellum has been damaged, she will no longer be able to jump and tumble and dance because she can't control her large movements since her cerebellum has been damaged. That is a perfect response. And so one of you out there, you typed that up, you probably know who you are. What it did was it gave us a nice definition of the cerebellum. It explained what they meant by that definition, and then it applied it to this particular scenario. Hypothalamus is the regulator of the pituitary glands and different drives. It regulates homeostasis. If Taylor were to have damaged the structure, she would have trouble regulating her hunger and thirst, knowing when she feels hungry and thirsty, and her sex drive. So it's a little bit shorter, but it gets right to the point. It applies it to Taylor and her life moving forward. I'm not going to read all of these word for word because, again, I've uploaded this document to Schoology. But what you're going to see time and time again is a definition of the term, an explanation of the term, and then applying it. I like this one down here about the basal ganglia. Remember, basal ganglia helps with the fine motor control. This could impact Taylor's life in the hemisphere of entertainment. She may not be able to put a puzzle together with her friends or play other games such as Operation. So that would make me laugh thinking about Taylor trying to, take out the wishbone without making the little Operation guy start buzzing. If we scroll down to the second FRQ, Melly, which I assume their parents just wanted to name her Molly, but we're trying to get creative. Melly just moved into her first apartment. She's excited to decorate the apartment and make it her own. Her first step is choosing paint colors for the walls. She has a hard time choosing between two different shades of blue, but her friend was able to point out that one was darker and therefore better for the bedroom. In the kitchen, she chose a lemon yellow paint. Melly had little money for furnishings and ended up with a lumpy chair from her mother and a sofa that was covered in slightly itchy fabric. So when you're reading these FRQs, you're looking for clues. They're putting that information out there to help you, perhaps with some of the terms. On her first evening in the apartment, she lit a vanilla-scented candle that reminded her of home. Based on the scenario described, how is Melly using each of the following concepts to help her settle into her new apartment? So again, if you look at an FRQ, if you see something like this, and maybe you don't remember the olfactory bulb or what that's all about, the College Board is assuming you've got your notes right in front of you. You just look it up. That's not the hard part. The hard part is applying it. So all of your responses need to deal with this right here, right? It's going to be right there in the question. Based on the scenario, how is Melly using each of the following concepts to help her settle into her new apartment? And so you're not just defining the terms, you're actually describing how can they help her settle in. And so the term about the olfactory bulb, it talks about how this helps spark memories of home because that's where the memory was stored, right? The sensory adaptation is talking about sitting on that itchy couch and how over time it doesn't feel as itchy. And then the difference threshold talks about trying to differentiate between these different types of blue and how Melly clearly has a larger difference threshold than her friend. Her friend can detect those small differences. So all of these terms help us understand how she can better settle into her apartment. Don't bullet point. A couple of you, when I was reading through your FRQs, you were not writing in complete sentences. You were just writing bullet points. Some of you actually typed out define, explain, apply, and you wrote one sentence for each. Try to avoid doing that. We want these to be in complete sentences, paragraph form. Remember, create a new paragraph or skip a line for each term, and you should be just fine. If you have any questions about the FRQ, please do not hesitate to ask me. Overall, you guys did a great job. Keep it up, and we'll talk soon.